Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Science Museum. In today's video, we are going to understand about the sexual reproduction in plants. So, let us start. Students, first of all, let us understand what is the meaning of sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds and it involves the fusion of male and female gametes. Students, did you know which part of the plant is known as the reproductive part? So let us know about it. Yes, it is flower. Flower is the reproductive organ of the flowering plants. And students, did you know about the different types of flowers? A flower may be unisexual or bisexual. First of all, let us understand about unisexual flower. The flower, which consists of only one type of reproductive organ, either the male or female organ, is called a unisexual flower. For example, flower of corn, papaya and cucumber, etc. Students, you can see on your screen in the background image the flower of papaya, which is a unisexual flower. And now let us know about the bisexual flower. The flower consisting of both the male and the female reproductive organs is called a bisexual flower. For example, rose, lily, hibiscus, mustard, etc. These are bisexual flowers. And students, did you know what are the reproductive organs of a flower? So let us know about the reproductive organs of the flower. The reproductive parts of a flower are: first, stamen or androecium, and second, pistil or carpel or gynoecium. Let us know about these parts in detail. First of all, let us understand about the stamen or androecium. The stamen or androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower. Students, the encircled part of the picture is the stamen or androecium. Let us know this part in little more detail. The stamen or the androecium is mainly consists of two parts. First is anther and second is filament. The anther is a bilobular structure. Inside the anther, there are four small chambers are present, which is known as the pollen sacs, and inside the pollen sacs, small rounded structure are filled called as pollen grains, and this pollen grain is the male gamete. And now let us know about the second reproductive part of the flower, pistil, carpel or gynoecium. The pistil or gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower. The encircled part of the flower is the female part, gynoecium. If we take a close look of the gynoecium, then we find out that it is consist of three main parts: stigma, style and ovary. The upper part is called as the stigma, and the middle part, which is a thin cylindrical structure, is the style, and the lowermost part, which is a oval swallow structure, that is ovary. Inside the ovary there are ovules that produce egg, which is the female gamete. Students, in flowers the sexual reproduction process is start with the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma by air, water, insects, etc. The male and the female gametes fuse together to form a new cell called zygote. So students, let us know about the pollination process. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma by air, water, insects, etc. is called pollination. Students, in nature, pollination process take place in two different ways. First is self-pollination, which is also called autogamy, and second is cross-pollination, which is also known as allogamy. Now let us know about them in detail. First, let us understand self-pollination or autogamy. The pollination which take place within the same flower or between two flowers of the same plant is called self-pollination or autogamy. Students, in the picture you can see there is a single flower and the pollen from the anther are transferred to the stigma of the same flower, and this type of pollination is known as the self-pollination. And now let us know about the cross-pollination or allogamy. The pollination which take place between two flowers present on two different plants of the same species is called cross-pollination or allogamy. In the picture, you can see there are two different flowers of the same species. If the pollen grain from the first flower are transferred to the second flower, then this type of pollination is known as the cross-pollination. Students, the pollen grains are carried to the stigma in any of the following ways. Let us know about the different pollinating agents. First is insect pollination. Insects cause pollination in flowers which produce nectar. Nectar is the concentrated solution of sugar. Flowers may be highly colored or strong smelling to attract insects. When insects get attracted towards the nectar, the pollen from the anther stick to their body, and when these insects carrying pollen visits another flower of the same kind, some of the pollen grain get transferred into the stigma of the flower. Thus, the second flowers get pollinated. Orchids, sweet pea and buttercup are some insects pollinated plants. And the second type of pollination is wind pollination. Wind pollinated flowers are small and not brightly colored. These flowers do not produce scent or nectar. For example, maize, wheat, rice, etc. They have long stamens which produce large quantity of pollen grains. The pollen grains are light in weight and can be easily taken away by the wind from one flower to another. And the next type of pollination is water pollination. Some aquatic plants release their pollen grains into the water and they are carried to other flowers by water currents. Hydrilla, Vallisneria and seagrass are some water pollinated plants. The pollination by water is called hydrophily. After the pollination, the fertilization process starts to take place. So let us know about the fertilization. The process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. During pollination, the pollen grains are carried from anther of a flower to the stigma of the same or some other flower of the same kind. And after the pollination process, the pollen grains start to germinate over the stigma of the flower. And during the germination, the pollen grain develop a tube called pollen tube. And finally, the pollen tube enters the ovule through the style. The pollen tube contains two male gametes. One of the male gametes passes through the pollen tube and reach the egg in the ovule. Here it fuses with the egg and a zygote is formed. This process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. And after the fertilization, the zygote develops into an embryo. And students, after the fertilization process, the fruit formation start to take place. So let us know about it. After the fertilization, the whole ovary change into fruits and the ovule change into seed. After the fertilization, only the ovary remains and other parts of the flower get dry up and detach from the flower. And each fertilized ovule contains a zygote. The zygote then begins to divide and form an embryo. And the embryo contains one or two cotyledons which store food for future. The fertilized and developed ovule containing embryo is called a seed. Gradually the seed hardens and dries, and the ovary wall may harden and become a pod as in pea, or it may become fleshy as in plums or tomatoes, or it may become hard and dry as in almond and walnuts. The whole ovary after fertilization grows to form the fruit. In fact, the fruit is ripened ovary of the plant. After the seed formation, the seed need to be distributed to different places. So students, let us know about the seed dispersal. Each plant produce a large number of seeds. If all the seeds germinate near the mother plant, the new plant shall not get adequate resources like sunlight, air and nutrients. And for the proper growth of the new plants, it is necessary that they develop away from the mother plant. For this, it is necessary that seeds are spread far and wide. The process of spreading seeds to different places away from the mother plant is called dispersal of seeds. Many agents of seed dispersal assist the plants in this process, and the seed can be dispersed through winds, water, animals, and explosion. So let us know about the different methods of seed dispersal in detail. First of all, let us understand about the dispersal of seeds by winds. The seeds, which are light, small, and have tufts of silky hair on their body, are carried away to distant places by the winds. For example, the seeds of dandelion, cotton, and fruit of acar are dispersed by winds. And the second type of dispersal is dispersal by water. Seeds and fruits having structure favorable for floating are dispersed by water. For example, seeds or fruits of coconut, lily, lotus are dispersed by water. Coconut trees grow near the seashore. The fibrous fruits falls in water and is carried away by the water currents. And the next type of dispersal is dispersal of seeds by animals. Seeds and fruits which are dispersed by animals are either edible or have hooks, barbs, spines, bristle and stiff hair on their surfaces. Such seeds are stick to the skin of animals or clothes of human beings and are carried away to distant places. And human beings and birds eat the pulp or edible portion of the fruit and throw the seeds. Such seeds germinate and develop into new plants. Fruits of Tribulus and Xanthium have hooks and spines on their body. And the last type of seed dispersal is dispersal by explosion. Some fruits burst open when they get mature. The force of bursting is enough to spread the seeds into different directions. Seeds of pea, ladyfinger, castor and balsam disperse by bursting. I hope you have understood that topic. Thank you for watching and see you next time.